Welcome everybody to a happy episode of the Niner Family Huddle podcast. Niners just crushed the Bears, 38-13. Was that right?
Sounds right.
And now their season is still alive. They're hanging on, and we're going to react to that and talk about what the rest of this season may hold after this. All right, big win for the Niners. Needed it. Desperate team put a desperate performance out there, and they got a clutch win. Playoff hopes are still alive. Jason, we were just talking about the playoffs and what we kind of need. Go ahead and run through whatever you were going to run through.
Yeah, so number one's the Lions. It's either going to be the Lions or the Eagles that take that number one seed and get the bye. But that's the 1 and 2 right now, Lions and Eagles. Number 3 is actually the NFC West. I thought they were going to be number 4, but number 4 is the Buccaneers sitting at 7 and 6. So then we get into the wild card teams, which if we don't win the West are the teams we'd need to start losing in a hurry. Which doesn't really look great to make the playoffs this way. But basically, it's the Vikings at 11 and 2. They're pretty much untouchable at this point. 9 and 4 is the Packers. That's going to be, I don't know if statistically impossible or really hard. But then the Commanders, and the Commanders are even 8 and 5. So they have a decent record. And their probability, I don't know how they come up with this estimate, but their probability that they make the playoffs is at 80%. So then after that, there's still a little batch of teams either ahead of us or tied with us. The Rams, because they just won today, are 7 and 6. And then the other teams that are tied with us at 6 and 7 are the Falcons and the Cardinals. So we're slotted right now. We're the 11th seeded team in the NFC. That's how far out we are.
Yeah, so this Rams game this week will be massive. I mean, every game from here on out is massive. One more loss, and you could essentially say the playoff hopes are over. But they win today, they keep their hopes alive, and for the first time all season, I think we saw this offense at its highest capacity, converting in the red zone, running the ball. Purdy was money all game long, I thought. Scoring almost 40 points. I feel like they struggle to score 24, 27 points this season. What were some of your guys' big takeaways from the game?
Well, I'll go first. I want to give my game ball to the secondary. They played awesome. There's a lot of coverage sacks, a lot of guys just not open. Caleb having to pat the ball or move around a little bit. This was the first game, and I talked about it before, that I was so excited to see Mooney, Renardo, and the Hyena all play together, and they didn't.
But the Hyena can't be fucked with.
They didn't bring me the picks that I wanted, but they played phenomenal football. They were my MVPs. I mean, if these three guys are healthy, and even I didn't think Hufanga played that bad either. If this secondary can stay healthy, I think we got a shot down the run, because that lineup is just so solid, and they covered their aces off against some good receivers. Granted, it's a rookie quarterback. He has to throw them the ball, but there's some good receivers out there in Chicago, some good weapons. So, yeah, that was my biggest takeaway, is how well the secondary played.
So, game ball. I mean, yeah, I think it's fitting of a game ball, but you said the offense at the highest capacity, Ryan, and I think that who I want to highlight is Kittle, because it's like, look, you feature him, you feed him, you draw up plays for him, and look what happens. Like, I feel like wasn't the first pass of the game to him, and it just seemed like throughout the early part of the game, like we need a play, give it to George, and he made a play. And I'm sure part of it was Kyle scheming it up or whatever, but still, it's just like bread and butter. Go to it, use it, and look at the impact it had. Like, I mean, maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but I don't think I am. It's like,
I don't think so.
I think
he's
that
the best
sets
player on their offense.
Yeah, I think it sets the tone for everybody else when you're getting your your captain, your guy involved, and he's gonna make plays. He's always gonna have the effort. So yeah, I just think like my game ball it goes to George Kittle, and I feel like feeding him made the difference early, and probably really just put. I'm not gonna say put the game out of reach. I guess it wasn't out of reach, but just like established their dominance, and I think it was through him.
Yeah, I think they should have been. They should be doing this with Kittle since 2018. Just 7, 8 to 10 targets a game, unless he's like really banged up. But I don't see why. There should be no excuses for any game since 2018 for him to have less than 5 targets. And we talked about it a little bit in our last one. Some of his comments, I think he was a little unsatisfied with how it was used, and I think Kyle made a point to get him the ball in this one. So yeah, I thought Kittle was awesome, and anytime they feed him the ball, the Niners seem to do really well. If I was going to give a game ball, mine would have to go to the quarterback, Brock. He's had some bad games the last couple of weeks. People are talking about like, maybe he doesn't deserve that contract. Maybe it's a small contract. Well, today he was like, that was a big time contract game. He was really accurate. He didn't turn the ball over. Threw a couple touchdowns. His quarterback rating, he finished at 145.4. 158 is perfect. And he was perfect through like the first quarter and a half or so. So I thought Brock was really, really good today. And I think Kyle did call a hell of a game. I do like to criticize Kyle sometimes, but I thought he called a really good game today. He went for it on fourth down a couple times. He was aggressive. I just saw the red zone stats too for the team. They were 5 for 6. I mean, that's that's incredible for what this team has shown this year. Honorary game ball would have to go to Isaac Garendo
Hmm.
for a rookie to step up and carry the ball, and he averaged 5.2 yards a carry, had 2 touchdowns. He had remember that play? I think it was against the Bucks when McCaffrey ran the double move and Purdy had pressure all over him, and he just lobbed it really high up in the air, and McCaffrey got under it. It was kind of a similar play to Garendo, and he had to go to the ground to catch it. And I thought that was a really, really nice catch from Garendo, who played wide receiver in high school and maybe even in college. So if he didn't have to go to the ground, he would have had a third touchdown on the day. I thought Garendo really showed out today for his first start.
Yeah, I agree. Do we know how serious his injury is? Is there any implication? And do we know how much time he'll miss?
Not yet. Shanahan said after the game that he has a foot sprain. So
So that seems like it wouldn't be too significant, maybe like a couple weeks or something. I'm not sure.
hopefully, well, I mean, they're playing Thursday, so
Yeah,
there
probably not
might be
that
a pretty
soon.
good chance he misses Thursday. And especially because like if it was McCaffrey, you could argue, well, he knows the playbook. He's a veteran. Maybe he doesn't have to practice, and you could put him on the field. With a rookie, Kyle like really wants his guys to practice at least in a limited fashion for them to play. And for a rookie to not practice at all this week and then play, I doubt that. So I would be willing to bet that he misses 1 week, and then hopefully he'll be back the following week.
Yeah. Do you think your guy will get some shine this upcoming week? The guy we were talking about on the last pod from the Jets?
Israel Abanikanda. I
Yeah.
hope so. My guess would be Patrick Taylor Jr. will
Yeah.
probably start and get most of the carries, and if they can get Izzy on the field for a couple looks and hand him the ball a few times, he could be what Garendo was earlier in their season, where he only gets a couple carries, but at any moment he could just break one and have a big play.
Well, they
I
have
hope he gets to play.
they have another back that got in today, Vaughn or whatever, that was on the
Keyshawn Vaughn from the
yeah
Bucks. Yeah,
yeah.
he's a solid player.
Yeah.
I think he's been on the team since training camp, so he probably feels comfortable to get out there. I bet Kyle feels comfortable putting him on the field, so he could be the backup too.
I have a feeling, and you guys aren't going to be happy to hear this. I just have a feeling there's going to be more Debo runs if Garindo is out. I mean, because I think it will be Patrick Taylor starting, Vaughn as the backup, maybe Izzy gets elevated, but I think really it's going to be Debo getting more touches in the backfield.
And, if there was ever a game for Debo to finally break out on offense,
Yeah,
I mean, he is the Ram killer.
Right.
So this would be the game to do it.
Yeah, I wonder if he still has the same motivation to beat him now that Aaron Donald's gone. But
That's a good point. I don't know. I mean, playoff hopes are on the line. I would hope he's motivated because this could be his last run with the Niners. It probably will be. I would say one of the few negatives I have from the game would be Debo. He had a
Yeah.
couple decent plays, but he seems like he's trying to make one too many jukes when he gets the ball instead of just lowering the shoulder and picking up as many yards as he can. And in the past, he could make that extra cut and make someone miss. But right now, it just seems like he's not making anybody miss. He's got to get the ball and just go forward. And if you're going to get tackled immediately, pick up a yard or two, and that it is what it is. But he's thinking home run on every play, and he just doesn't have that home run ability anymore.
Yeah, I just get kind of upset now when he gets the ball more than anything. Go
I
ahead,
know.
Steven.
no, I was to say, yeah, I liked that one run play that I texted you guys about because it was kind of a little misdirection how they did the handoff.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, I didn't see anything that got me excited. I think he had maybe one or two nice like catch and runs, but as far as running, that was the only play that stood out to me where I was like, oh hey, all right.
Yeah. That would be my only negative too, really. The only thing. I feel like even their run defense like stepped it up and played pretty good. So I don't have any complaints really about the defense. Sorensen, I thought called a good game. So yeah, that would probably be my only complaint too.
Let me look up the team stats here. I think they had 6 sacks on the day, which is
Pretty nuts.
7.
And how many who led the way? Leonard and
Gross Matos had 3, I'm pretty sure.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know he had 3.
He
And
had
Leonard
2.
had 2?
He had 2 on back-to-back plays. He had that one where he tackled the lineman with the quarterback.
He did have 3.
Yeah.
So these
Wow.
additions are finally paying dividends,
Yeah.
huh?
Leonard Floyd had 2. Malik Collins had 1. That's 6. Where's the 7th one? There might be a couple guys who had like a half sack or something.
So Leonard might keep his double-digit sack streak alive. He has 6.5 right now.
Well, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who? If you had to guess who led the team in tackles today, who would you guess?
I don't even know.
It's not the obvious answer.
Oh, well, I was going to say like somebody in the secondary coming up, like maybe Huff or something, but now you got me thinking it's a D lineman.
Was it like Malik?
Nope. It was Devondre Campbell.
He played decent, didn't he? From what I
He
remember.
did make a couple nice tackles. I remember seeing one toward the sideline where I think DeAndre Swift was trying to get around the corner and he stopped him.
Yeah.
There was Hufanga was third on the team, and then Charvarius Ward was second. There was one play from Huff where it might have been DeAndre Swift again when they were in the red zone, and he and Mustafa came up to make the tackle, and Huff hit him hard and stopped him. And I think they might have forced a field goal, or it might have been a third down play, and they forced a field goal. And I was like, hey, it's nice to see Hufanga out there running around and slamming into people with his Patrick Willis glove on.
So it's funny because if you would have asked me early in the year, knowing that Huff was a free agent, like he was one that I was like, we'll see you later. Like, not a priority. We got these 2 young safeties. Let's see what they got. I feel like lately the way Jair Brown has been playing, it's like, ooh man, maybe we do need to keep Huff around, and pair him with Mustafa. But I don't know. Maybe it's. I'm not giving up on Jair Brown or anything. I'm just saying it's like Huff might be a little more valuable than I gave him credit for, especially given what's behind him.
Yeah, I think Hufanga has like excellent. He's really smart. He knows where the ball's going. We've talked about it before. Anytime a ball gets tipped in the air, expect to see Hufanga underneath it.
Yep.
And I think he has great instincts. He can like trigger on the run quickly. He can trigger on a pass play quickly. He's just not very fast. He's kind of like Jawan. Like he's got the skills, just not the explosive athleticism.
Right.
But
And he gets beat in coverage.
Yeah, he can get beat in coverage, and sometimes he dives at ankles, and guys just kind of easily jump over him. I've seen like old ass Travis Kelsey jump over him a couple times. Like, dude, come on, wrap him up. And there was that play earlier in the season when Kyron Williams against the Rams, he like did a front flip into the end zone over him. It kind of looked bad, but Jair Brown isn't like some excellent tackler either. He's that long play that James Cook had, the 65-yard touchdown. Like that was all Jair Brown. Like he was right there to make the tackle, got juked out of his shoes and just whiffed. And he doesn't really have the ball skills. I think he's okay, but he doesn't have the ball skills like Huff to kind of justify just kind of having that starting safety spot handed to him. So the problem is Huff's a free agent and Brown's got 2 more years on his deal and he's cheap. He's a 3rd-round pick. Mustafa's a freaking starter though. That dude's a stud. I feel like every single play, there's 2 or 3 plays where I'm like, dude, that guy is good. He had the one against the Bills where like he came flying in off the screen and swatted that ball down. It was like a big 3rd down play. He forced a punt. And every week he comes up and smacks someone in the run game. I really like Mustafa. He's their best safety.
He is. Did Jair Brown just get benched?
In favor of Huff,
Yeah.
probably.
Well, technically, I think when the season started, I think Huff and Jair Brown were the starters. So
yeah.
So in a way, with Huff coming back, if you assume a starter gets their spot back, then he got benched for Mustafa.
He got benched for Mustafa. So the starting safeties were Mustafa and Hufanga, right?
Today, yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind that. Our secondary played really well. So
it just sucks that Huff's got that club on because it takes away one of his best attributes, which is to catch the ball.
He probably still catch it. He'll find a way.
He can get it in on the body, maybe.
Yeah.
T. Winter should have had a pick today. That one went right through his hands.
Yep.
Huff just needs to work with the Niner receivers to learn how to do body catches.
So I take some notes during the game in my phone. I just kind of write down things that I'm highlighting. And one of my notes is, why won't Kittle catch with his hands? And I don't like to single out Kittle, but there was one catch where Purdy threw it like up on his shoulder right here, and he like jumped and like so that he could get his body on it instead of just like doing this. And the only reason I think about it is because someone highlighted it a couple years ago that a lot of the Niners catch with their bodies. And we have the greatest wide receiver of all time used to play for the Niners, Jerry Rice, who always emphasized catching with the hands. And when I played football, when they teach you proper form, it was like, this is what Jerry Rice taught. This is what Jerry Rice said. So it's kind of been pounded into my head. And then we saw Vernon Davis with his leaping body catches, and Debo catches the ball on his body. Ayuk on these big crossing routes, he'll catch the ball on his body. Unless they're like diving or it's like up above their head. If they can maneuver their body in some way to get their body on it, they will. And it bothers me because it just you can bounce it off and drop it, and that's how mistakes get made.
It's funny because George is capable. Like, we've seen him go up, like you talked about, like extending, reaching up, catching it in traffic, whatever. Like, he's capable. He's proven it. But yeah, you're right. Like, it seems like it's a preference thing. I wonder, this is pure speculation on my part, but I wonder if it has to do with a lot of these guys being yak guys. Like, if there's something about getting it on the body and being ready to run, or instead of like catching it and then taking the time to haul it in and having to like run. I'm not saying that makes it okay. I'm just saying for their comfort level, if they're thinking, hey, I'm running with the ball right away, I want to have it secured against my body as quickly as possible. But I don't know. It's a guess.
It's certainly a theory. I would say I don't think it's accurate because it doesn't matter if they're turning to run or if they're going to the ground or if they're at the sideline. It's just always a body catch. And if you catch the ball, then who cares? Whatever.
Right.
But the few times that it hits the body and it bounces off and you bobble it and then you drop it, it's like, well, do you not trust your hands? And Kittle talked about years ago. He bought this he spent thousands of dollars on one of those jugs machines that's got like the Joker face on it and it's all customized to Kittle. And I know when that thing is spitting footballs at him, he's not catching them on his body. He's catching them with his hands. So I don't know why they don't do that in the game, but now that I've probably mentioned it and really highlighted it here for you, when you watch the games, you'll notice it too. And it's not just Kittle; it's like all of them. And as you know, Kyle's was a high school and a college wide receiver. Does he teach like bring the ball into the body, or is he obviously doesn't care. He just wants you to catch the ball, I guess. But he's not like emphasizing like extend your hands unless you absolutely like if Brock throws one high and you got to jump up. Like we've seen Kittle do that. We've seen Debo do that and Ayuk. But if they can get their body on it, they will. I don't like it. That's my biggest criticism from the game, I guess. Too many body catches.
All right. Fair enough. You guys want to hear some George Kittle stats from this season? I was looking it up because I looked up Leonard Floyd's stats, and we know George Kittle is going to be a Pro Bowler and an All Pro this year, but
I'm a little nervous about Brock Bowers. I feel like the fantasy football community is all over Brock Bowers. And if he steals all pro tight end one from Kittle because he's catching a bunch of balls, and that's going to bother me because I'm sure Brock is awesome. He's on my fantasy team in my dynasty league. I'm happy to have him, but he ain't mowing guys down in the run game like George. George is the best tight end in football, and he deserves all pro tight end one.
Yeah,
I'm trying to find Brock Bowers' stats because I was about to
He's-
read off Kittle's.
yeah.
I think he's got more catches than yards.
What are George's numbers?
Yeah, he does. So George's numbers are 56 catches for 800 yards and 8 tugs. So he has more touchdowns than
Does it say
Brock.
how many yards per catch for Kittle?
Yeah, 14.3.
I bet that's higher than Brock.
Yeah, it is. Brock has way more catches, almost 30 more. He has
Almost
84
80.
catches
Oh, he's over 80.
for 884 yards, so 84 more yards than Kittle, and only 4 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
So if George can get to double-digit touchdowns and clears 1,000 yards, I think that he'd be able to hold them off. I just feel like those are like two big square numbers that make people think, "Wow, he's got 1,000 yards, double-digit touchdowns." Because odds are Brock Bowers isn't going to get to double-digit touchdowns.
And George already has the reputation for being like the best blocking tight end. So if you see his numbers comparable to someone else's, you always give the edge to George.
Yeah, but
Uh,
with Bowers being the hot new thing, and it's not like there's going to be any other Raiders that are really in consideration. I mean, Crosby would be the only other Raiders player who would get any shine. You know, you could see voters. Oh, let's give the edge to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think Brock probably deserves a second team All Pro.
Yeah.
He's probably earned that. He's really good. I was watching a little bit of the Raiders game this morning. He didn't do a ton in this game, but like I said, I've had him on my dynasty league, so I've been following him, and he's really freaking good. But Kittle's the best,
Yeah.
no question. I don't know what else. What else do you guys think about this game? Anything else jump out to you?
Yeah, so I was gonna say a couple things. One is I don't want to overreact too much because it was the Bears, and I think they showed that they're not very good. Although they were showing those stats about how they've played these really good teams close. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of crazy that the Niners blew them out after the Lions and Packers did not. But those are division games, and we know how division games go. It seems like they're always close, even when one team is much better than the other. But so I don't want to overreact, especially because when we got together last time, for me at least, I said that I didn't expect them to win by 20 plus, but I think I picked a double digit victory, and that this is what I expected. I expected them to come out motivated, look good, play well, and win. So they did what I expected, and just by a bigger margin or exceeded it a little bit. So I don't want to be like, oh my gosh, the season's saved or whatever. I think this Rams game will be, the ultimate sign. And I think the Rams, I mean, just the vibe that I get, I mean, of course, seeing them beat the Bills today makes me even more nervous, but I think the Rams are a tough matchup for the Niners, unfortunately. That said, so like I just want to say I don't want to overreact and be like, oh, season saved, whatever, because it could all go up in smoke in a few days. But I am like we were talking about being optimistic last time, I am feeling that optimism about, like, if Dre really is coming back and he can be, 85% of Dre, if there's a chance that Bosa is 80% of what he is and he's not going to hurt himself playing, like, all of a sudden I was like, okay, that is a little different for the Rams to deal with. Not necessarily the defense that was out there today, but that defense plus two all pros, albeit rusty, not 100% most likely, but still two guys that I trust that are gonna make plays and know what they're doing out there. It's like, hey, I mean, they could do something, and I of course really hope that they do. But man, they've got such a, like, there's no room for error, and it's like such a steep hill to climb. So we'll see, but yeah, I'm feeling the optimism, although it's not. I feel like they did what they were supposed to do today. They took care of business. This is what I expected, so I don't want to overreact too much to that. But because they actually finally took care of business instead of blowing it, okay, I'm optimistic. Let's build on this.
Do we know if Trent Williams, Ben Barch / Aaron Banks are going to be healthy and playing, or maybe not healthy, but will they play? Are they going to suit up?
So I think Kyle said Ben Barch has an ankle sprain, so he could be flirting with IR if it's a high ankle. Hopefully not, because he's been kind of solid. My guess would be, and this is only a guess, would be that Trent and Bosa could be ready for this Rams game on Thursday. And then I know Dre is going to be ready. Kyle was asked about it again after the game today. Are you expecting Dre to come back for the Rams game? He said yes. Fred was asked about it, and he was like, I cannot wait to get Devondre Campbell off. Dre Greenlaw back on the field. No, he didn't say that, but he was like, he said he's been thinking about it all year. He can't wait to get Dre back on the field. So yeah, that can be a big lift for this team to get all three of those guys back.
Well, we're getting all pros at all three layers, at all three areas. Huff, all pro Huff, all pro Dre. Dre has an all pro season or two,
I
right?
think
No?
second.
Oh.
I think he got a second team one year. I think there was a year where he didn't make the Pro Bowl, but he got second team All Pro. I could have swore.
I wouldn't be surprised. I kind of just expected when I was saying that I was speaking truth. And then obviously, I won't even call him all pro Bosa. That's defensive player of the year, Bosa. I'll give him his proper title.
So I think, what's going on? So Banks had a concussion. We don't really know when he's going to clear the protocol, but he could potentially be back. Are they expecting any other O-line reinforcements? What's going on with Feliciano?
I think
he's out for the season.
Yeah, done for the year.
So they opened his practice window, and then once you do that, you have 3 weeks before you can. You have to play inside this three weeks. If you don't, you're shut down for the year. And he didn't make that 3-week window. So, and Dre, by the way, no All Pro, no Pro Bowls. He's been snubbed so hard.
Dang.
He did make the All Rookie team in 2019, but like last season, obviously toward the Achilles in the Super Bowl, but that regular season was his best year, and I thought he deserved to be. Like I thought he and Fred were kind of flirting with Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman territory. Where like this is the best linebacker tandem in the league for sure, and they might even be the two best linebackers in the league. That's how good they were last year. But Dre's been snubbed for at least the last 2 seasons.
Probably freaking old ass Bobby Wagner
It was Bobby.
got it because of his name.
It was Bobby Wagner. Yeah, it's not even like, okay, Roquan Smith, he's really good.
Yeah.
Roquan Smith's having a terrible year, by the way, but last year he was really good for the Ravens.
So Dre's an all pro in my heart. How about that? So.
In all of our hearts. All the 49er fans know how good of a player he is, and he deserves that accolade, but unfortunately, he doesn't have it, and he's going to retire one day, and he's not going to have any Pro Bowls or All Pros, and it's going to be like, oh, he was just a linebacker that played for the 49ers. Nah, man, that dude was insane, and he was so good. And I can't wait. If he does play against the Rams, which I'm expecting he will, he's gonna hit someone hard and early, and the whole defense is gonna be like, "Yeah, we're back." It's
Just
gonna be like that John Wick line, like, I'm thinking I'm back."
just imagine like the pregame huddle and like he's been doing it when he's not playing. Imagine like he might spontaneously combust just being just being back out there. The energy will just be electric. I think.
Whenever I think of Dre Greenlaw, I think of that hit he had on the Seahawks tight end on the 1 yard line.
Mhm.
Probably the most legendary. That was to clinch the number 1 seed, I believe, that year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was just so legendary. It gives me chills to think about. That's the play I always think of about Big Play Dre.
Big
Really
play,
quick,
Dre.
Aaron Banks was listed as questionable with a concussion for this game. And Kyle noted that he still has a few more benchmarks to hit in order to clear the concussion protocol. So I don't know what that means, but that's the most recent information I have.
Well, it seems like Barch was doing really well, like or at least solid. So it's like if you
Mhm.
had Barch, then okay, not as big of a deal. But if Barch has an ankle sprain and he's out for sure, it's like, well, then get back, Aaron,
Yeah.
because
It's
And then it's
Burford now.
Spencer
yeah,
Burford. Yeah.
Yeah, after the Bills game, we talked a little bit about Barch, and I think Chasen asked, like, "Is he a young guy? He's been on the practice squad?" And I said, "Yeah," without really knowing for sure. I looked him up. This is his 5th year in the league.
Ben
He
Barch?
was Yeah, he was like a
Wow.
4th round pick by the Panthers in 2020, and he spent 4 years there, and then last year practice squad with the Niners, and so I think he's in it, or maybe he's in his 6th year now. Yeah, he's actually been
Huh.
around for a while, but I think is just kind of a backup. But he was good. I mean, he looked good against the Bills, and
Yeah.
I thought he looked solid until he got hurt.
I'm reading this
And
article about him. It says that it is a high ankle sprain.
that's
And
tough.
yeah,
it's probably a season for him, unfortunately.
maybe get back in the playoffs if we make
Yeah,
it.
they're typically like a 4-week injury. If it's not so bad, it's 3 weeks. But Jordan Mason just had the high ankle sprain, and he got put on IR. So
Yeah. Well, hopefully he can be a player for us next year. Get yourself
yeah,
healthy.
yeah, I'm hoping they can. I don't know what his contract looks like. We'll get into that stuff in the offseason. We'll go through the whole roster and look at contracts and see who's coming back, who should, who shouldn't. But for right now, it's Spencer Burford.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think about what I said in terms of like not getting too out of hand? Like, do you agree, or should I celebrate this win because they finally look like the 2023 49ers for a whole game?
I think you should always celebrate a win. It's
Hmm.
it's hard to win in this league. Niners haven't won that much this season. They've lost more than they've won. So no, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the game, obviously, because they beat him down. It was nice to not only get a win, but get a stress-free win. Where outside of like the injuries, I mean, I wasn't really stressing at all. They pretty much, I feel like, had it wrapped up in the first half. Um, so I mean, I'm celebrating it. I'm feeling good. Whether or not they make the playoffs is another thing. But I'm taking my 24 hours. I think that's what Kyle says to celebrate, and then I'll
Hmm.
flush it and get ready for the Rams.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the Rams shot their shot to beat the Bills today, and they're going to be flat on Thursday.
Yeah, that's an
Well,
emotional win for them. That's a lot of energy spent.
yeah, I agree, and so I'm hoping they're going to be a little. I was actually kind of rooting like for some overtime. I
Yeah.
wanted the Bills to kick a field goal and have them keep playing. But to answer your question, Stephen, I'm feeling pretty optimistic. I before I Sam and I listened to our last episode, she was like, "Is this one going to be negative again?" The last episode, I feel like you were really upset, and I was like, actually, I was like shockingly optimistic because I believe that they could beat the Bears, and I talked about how if they can get 2 wins in 4 days, then just like they've been saying all year, everything we want still right in front of us. So they looked really good today. They didn't win and struggled to win like I thought they would. Like 23-20 was my score prediction. It was 24-0 at half. I was like, this game's over. Even when they went down and scored to start the second half, I didn't have any like Super Bowl flashbacks of like, oh, Kyle's gonna choke this lead away. I felt pretty good that they were going to close it out because Kyle was going for it on fourth down, keeping the ball, um, challenged a couple plays today, some good ones. So I really feel like Kyle didn't get up and then get conservative and just try to hang on to the lead. He tried to keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and that's what I like to see. So I'm feeling optimistic right now. I'm feeling excited for this team. I'm certainly never going to root against them. When they have these down years, I can look at a loss and just say, well, at least we improved the draft position. But for right now, I'm still hoping they can get to the playoffs and their veteran presence and experience can take over and win a few playoff games. And who knows after that?
Yeah. And they weren't sloppy today for the first time in a while. They were pretty dang disciplined. It was beautiful to see. I think it was like midway through the second quarter, maybe. I remember the announcer. I think it was when Brock scrambled for that touchdown that got called back, and that was their only field goal. I think that was their first like penalty. I remember the announcer saying it, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, really?" Like, oh my goodness, no wonder we're scoring so much. Like,
Yeah, you're talking about the Ricky Pearsall holding call that
yeah,
negated his touchdown.
At
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
least Ricky has the good sense to make his mistakes in a blowout victory, so then nobody will really, call on it, because like he should have had a touchdown on that other pass too if he's running up the seam, and
Yeah.
then
yeah,
he had that holding that negates one, but it's like nobody cares because they had a blowout win, right? So good job, Ricky. You're doing really good with your timing.
I'm sure Purdy's gonna just be very pleased with you.
Yeah,
yeah. Purdy talked about it after the game. He said they just were there was a little bit of a miscommunication on the route. He kind of said what I said in the text message that Ricky saw grass and kind of headed toward the post, but it was supposed to be a seam, and so they just weren't quite on the same page there. But yeah, if the Niners lose this game and Ricky negates a touchdown with a holding call, only has the one catch and then misses a long touchdown, ouch. He could be getting some criticism right now, but
for sure.
Jawan and George, Brock and Garendo balled out, so no one's talking about it.
Yep.
So I know we're gonna do the Rams preview um, later this a couple days, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
From what you guys have seen in the Niners' previous NFC West matchups, because they've now played everybody in the West, and obviously they're done with the Seahawks. Where do you think the Rams rank? Like, do you feel like they're are they the most scary, the least scary, somewhere in between? Like for the Niners going into this game, like how do you feel about the Rams?
You go first, Ryan.
I have a stupid answer. They're somewhere between 1 and 4.
Okay,
I don't know. This division is so weird. Like the Seahawks are in first. Are they 8-5?
yeah,
Yeah.
They don't like they could be 5-8. The
right.
Niners are 6-7. They can be 7-6. They could be 9-4 or whatever.
They should be.
The Yeah, the Rams. I feel like the Rams have won a game or two this year that they probably shouldn't have, like the Bills today. But they've probably lost a game or two that they probably shouldn't have. And the Cardinals, I feel like, are the ultimate coin flip team. Like they're gonna come out and look really good, and Kyler's gonna ball, or they're gonna look like Kyler's been playing Call of Duty all week and he has no idea what he's doing out there. So this division, it feels like it's just a bunch of mediocre, no good, no bad, just mediocre 500 teams scrapping and fighting and clawing for a playoff berth, and every game's kind of a coin flip. I don't fear the Rams more than the Seahawks or less than the Cardinals or anything. I think they're all pretty even, and I expect an even close game on Thursday.
If we're just talking NFC West, as of right now, the team I fear the most, it was the Cardinals, but seeing the Cardinals lose to the Seahawks, which I hold in low regard, they're my least feared team in the NFC West, it bumped them down for me. So as of right now, the Rams would be my number one team. Well, okay, I think they're the number two team because I think the Niners are the best team in the NFC West. So I would put the Rams right under them, and the Cardinals just dropped out of that slot. Here's the thing that scares me about this game. Well, there's a couple things. McVay's a good coach. Stafford's a good quarterback. They've got good weapons. So that's like the obvious. But the thing is that with division games, they're typically close. The Niners don't do well in close games. And I fear the Rams are going to have more of a clutch factor than the Niners will, unfortunately. So that makes me the most nervous. I think to beat the Rams, we're going to need like the defense is going to have to make that clutch play, pick off Stafford or something when he's trying to go kick a field goal or score a touchdown to win the game. Like I think it's going to be the defense that has to come up clutch. But yeah, they do scare me a decent bit.
What's funny is I feel like right now, and like I said, it's probably because they just beat the Bills today, so it bumps them up. But I feel like right now the Rams are the scariest team in the NFC West. That said, I also feel like they looked the worst of the teams that the Niners have played in the NFC West. Like
Yeah,
to
I
me,
agree.
in some ways, that game is the most frustrating of the blown leads because they didn't look like a good team. The Niners controlled the game and dominated them. And then they just goofed off in the second
Yeah.
half and like let them hang around. And then it's like, well, this is what happens when you let them hang around. I mean, literally, if Jake Moody makes that field goal, there's no way they have time to come back and win. There's so many little things that had to go wrong in that game that did. It was like a perfect storm that allowed the Rams to win. And it's just so infuriating because it's like the Niners, of the three that they lost to the NFC West opponents, that's the one they should have won the most. And
Yeah.
so even though I feel that way about that game, it feels to me like they're actually the best team because I don't think Nakua was playing when the Niners
Nor
played them.
Cooper Cup.
Oh, they were
They were
both
both
out.
out.
Okay.
That's why that
Yeah.
loss is really bad.
Yeah. So it's just kind of, it's funny to think that they looked the worst and yet they might be the best of the teams that they have to play from the division. The Seahawks didn't impress me in either one. I felt like, the Niners pretty much controlled the first matchup and they totally shot themselves in the foot and screwed up in the second one to allow them to win. But I don't know. It's just crazy. It's like, how in the world did you lose all three of those games? Let alone, like, you can almost understand one, but yeah, they've just
Yeah.
screwed themselves so much by doing that.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL is, like Jason said, it's really hard to win in this league. We hear that so much. And we know division games get weird, even when you have like an 11-1 Lions team playing a 4-win or 5-win Bears team, and the Bears like should have tied that game up and forced overtime, and who knows, maybe they win it.
Yeah,
The Bears had no business being in that game 2 weeks ago, but they were. And so division games are just weird. So if you told me that the Niners played the Rams, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks once, and they looked good in all three, but choked one and one slipped away, like that's not gonna surprise me. Even two, but to do it 3 times to each of the opponents is like, okay. Now I'm starting to look at the Niners like maybe you guys just aren't that team that we thought. And I do agree with you, Steven. The Rams loss is the one that they choked the worst. And I listening to you guys talk, I would also agree. The Rams are probably the best team, the scariest team in the division because I don't trust the Seahawks or the Cardinals. It just Geno is I just don't think Geno's good. Even he's finally beat the Niners, whatever. And Kyler is just too much of a wild card for me. But Stafford, Nakua, Cooper, and McVay, and then some of their young. They've clearly drafted
Kyron.
well recently on defense.
Yeah.
They've got some good players over there. So they're to me that's the toughest matchup in the division.
yeah. The Niners are going to have to be on their game. Like they can't be mediocre and expect to beat the Rams. I think they can be mediocre and beat some teams still, believe it or not. But I don't think they can do that with the Rams. They're going to need their offense to be like the offense we saw today, where they're executing at a high level, and the defense is going to have to. I don't think they're going to be able to stop them all game. They're just going to have to make some key stops when they have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, because the Rams are like, it's a huge game for them too to keep their playoff hopes
Hmm.
alive and pretty much mathematically knock the Niners out, the big bad Niners that have kind of owned this division. Like, yeah, they're probably gnawing at the bit as well. Like, it's a huge game for both teams, a division rival, Thursday night in prime time. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Is it in Levi's or is it in Levi's South?
It's
Home game.
home game.
It's in our Levi's. Okay.
It's It's the other thing, Chasen, that you're talking about with the Rams is they get to play the Seahawks for the last game of the season, so they have that in front of them where it's like if we can just somehow keep pace, then all we have to do is beat them in basically an early playoff game because it looks like the Seahawks are going to be in the running. The fact that they're 8-5, I mean, they really have to fall apart to take themselves out of consideration going into the final week. It could be, and the NFL would probably love this, it could be that there's a scenario where any of the four NFC West teams or
Yes.
three of the four could be the winner based on how that last
Yes.
week goes.
I was about to say
Yeah.
that. How crazy is that last week going to be?
Yeah. Niners, Cardinals, Rams, Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
And every division game for the remainder of the last 4 games of the season is going to be massive. Every team's going to need it badly. So no one's going to be sleeping on the other team. Our division doesn't have like a Vegas Raiders or a New York Giants. There is no bottom feeder in this division. There's no Detroit Lions or Kansas City Chiefs either, but there's good teams, solid teams, and they're all fighting. It's going to come down to the very last week of the season. We'll see how it plays out.
It just
But
hurts so bad that we're not going to have any tiebreakers because of our
I
terrible
know
record in the division. Like that's really
the
going to hurt.
conference because like losing to the Vikings, the Packers, um, obviously the 3
Rams,
division
the
teams.
Seahawks. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but if the Niners beat the Rams and beat the Cardinals, they'll have a 3-3 division record. So that's
Yeah.
fine. Where they lose more tiebreakers is the conference record because
Mhm.
they kept losing to like I said, the Vikings
Packers.
and the Packers, and the Lions are looming too. So that's going to be if the tiebreakers get that deep, and right now it looks like they might because it's so close. Then that could be the one that hurts the Niners.
Thank goodness for the Cowboys and Bucks, man.
I know. Yeah.
For real.
Well, we have a whole nother episode. We can get into the Rams.
Yep.
We're already kind of starting to. It seems like I think we're all excited for that game. But is there anything left on the Bears game, or should we wrap this thing up?
Um, I mean, good win. I don't know. Like, I don't want to be pessimistic, so I'm gonna hold my tongue on another player that I am starting to not feel good about. Um,
What's their initials? Give us their
Come
initials.
on, don't hold out on us.
I'm
Is it
starting to get
KJ?
I'm starting to get over Jake Moody, man. Like I feel, and it's funny because it's not even like he missed anything today, but didn't like his kickoffs. Like I feel like that's what you're supposed to be known for. Like okay, maybe you're going to miss some field goals every now and then, but you're supposed to have this big leg. Didn't they get to start at the 40 twice because of him today?
Shoot, I guess I might not have been paying too much attention. I feel like the Niners were kicking their ass so early that I started to tune out a little bit, and I was cooking dinner. I started like 2 hours
I just feel like
before dinner time.
he's like you don't want to think about the kicker ever. And obviously you
Yeah.
weren't, so that's good. Like you just want them to come in and be automatic, make their field goals, do their job on kickoffs, and not get any kind of publicity until it's the end of the season. It's like, oh, that guy was really solid. He only missed, 2 all year or whatever. And I
Hmm.
feel like he's had key misses at important parts of the season, important games. And then I swear today there was twice where the Bears got to start at the 40 because he didn't hit the landing zone or whatever. And it's like, dude, just put it out of the back of the end zone every time. Like you're supposed to have this big strong leg, and that's what you're here to do. Because for all of Robbie's accuracy and how much everybody loved him, that was his kryptonite, was that he couldn't kick touchbacks anymore. Like he just didn't have the power. So you go get the young guy that you don't even have to think about it. Just send it into the stands. Is as I thought what the idea was with him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if you're not even doing that, which is the second of the important part, which the first one is make your damn field goals. I'm just kind of like feeling I don't
What would you
want.
say you do here?
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't want to say it's time to give up, but I've thought about you way too much as a kicker, Jake Moody. I should only be thinking about you like, oh, yeah, he seems like he's been solid, and
Yeah,
instead,
like an offensive lineman, you just don't notice him until he screws up.
exactly. So, anyways, like I said, I definitely don't want to go out on a negative note, but that was just another thing that bothered me, and maybe it was easy to nitpick because they were winning so big and there wasn't a lot of negatives to see, so the few negatives that there were stood out a little bit more. But so yeah, let me shift it to a positive. I really, and I know we texted about this.
Well, let me touch on Jake Moody real quick,
Okay,
and
okay,
then you can do that.
yeah,
So Kyle has said in the past that because he's been asked, were you guys kicking short on purpose to try and get them to bring the ball out and get some good field position? He has said, never. I will never kick the ball short on purpose. 100% of the time, we want to kick the ball through the end zone for a touchback. So anytime it falls short, it's the kicker missed kicking or whatever the issue is. And then because our special teams has been so bad this year, we've talked about this too. One of the best ways you can do to help them is to not give them a chance to screw up by just kicking the ball through the end zone. So, and yeah, and I've never trusted Jake's kicks or even his extra points. Even when they go through, it's like, okay, well, that was an extra point. Why did it skate through the inside of the upright? Like Robbie was always just like down the middle, down the middle, down the middle. I was watching the Chiefs and Chargers. They're on right now before we started this. And, Harrison Butker for the Chiefs, he's one of the best kickers in the league. He's out. And they have some backup come in. He's just right down the middle, right down the middle. And Moody, even when he makes them, he does not do that. They're just inside or just inside that upright. They're fading a little left, fading right. Like they're shaky and he makes me nervous every time he lines up to kick the ball. And that's a problem.
yeah. So, anyways, my positive though to end, like Chasen talked earlier about the defense and didn't have any problems with it today, and I don't remember which one of you even said something about um, the new guys that came this year, like showing up or whatever. If Leonard Floyd can keep doing what he's been doing recently, especially if Bosa gets back, because like I feel like his job should only get easier if Bosa does get back, and if Gross Matos is like getting shaken off that rust
I hope so.
and like getting settled into this defense. And I mean, I don't think Sam O made any like big plays today, but I still think he's been solid. Like I'm excited about what the D line can be. There's a bunch of ifs there. If they are getting comfortable or whatever, but I feel like this is probably no coincidence that they got pressure on the quarterback. I know Caleb Williams like one of the most sacked quarterbacks, so he's probably holding the ball too long.
The
But
most. Yeah.
yeah, but they got pressure on the quarterback. They actually did all right against the run today. Like if the D line is coming together and then look at the result, like I don't think it's a coincidence that they have a big win and the D line played well. And so if they can do that, that does make me feel like, oh my gosh, like maybe that team that we've grown to love and that defense that we've grown to love can still show up, and especially pairing that with, like we already talked about, Dre just, I mean, hopefully just lighting a fire under all those guys. And, maybe whether he literally gets in somebody's face or just rubs off from seeing him running around like his hair's on fire. I mean, it gets me excited to think about Dre, Fred, and Winters. Like, it just seems like there's missiles flying around
Hitters.
the field.
Yeah.
And Mustafa, hitters.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right. I mean, exactly. It just so yeah. I guess I wanted to give a little love to the new guys and hope that this is what they are and that this wasn't like a one game fluke and that they're like rounding into form. Because if that's the case, I think that's huge for the defense.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm so excited to watch this healthy secondary, going to speak that into existence for the rest of the season, continue to gel together and get even better. Um, I'm super excited about this secondary. Like, as long as all them dudes are out there and Isaac Yadam is only playing special teams, which he tried to mess that up too. He tried to mess that up too today. But as long as all them dudes are out there, like, I'm so excited about our secondary.
Yeah, some of the newcomers too. You didn't mention Malik Collins. He had a big sack today, and I feel like he's been solid all year long. I think the Niners have decent starters on the D line, but very little depth. And we know Kyle and John when they took over this job. I think their whole philosophy is to build an elite front seven, win on offense through Kyle's scheme, and just don't f it up on special teams. And that's what they did today. The offense was dialed, defense was dominating up front, and special teams didn't have any disasters. So if they can keep doing that, then that's 49er football under Kyle Shanahan, and that's a tough team to beat. So,
yep.
Well, you gonna say something?
No, I said I think we're good. I think we hit it.
Yeah, when the Niners dominate a team like that, it's like we can come on here and just praise everybody. They deserve it. They played great, but then there's not a whole lot of not a whole lot to talk about because there wasn't any oh, I can't believe they did this. Why didn't they do that? It's like, dude, they just kicked their ass today. Good for them.
They did it without Nick Bosa and Trent Williams. They kicked some ace, and so that was awesome.
Yeah, and RB4 out there was looking good too. So yeah, that was a very positive game today. Very positive sign going forward. We'll see if they can carry that momentum into the Rams game, which we will discuss in a couple of days' time. Until then, we will see y'all later.
All right, peace out. Sam's gonna love this episode. We're so positive.
Yep.
He's gonna love it.
And just because we haven't said his name and he deserves to have it said, Juwan Jennings is the man. All right.
I thought you were gonna say
Still
Gary.
the man.
I thought you were gonna shout out Gary or someone else.
Oh,
shout out Gary.
Shout out Gary Geist and Juwan Jennings. Couple studs.
Yep.
All right, peace out.
Bye,
See ya.